Here we go. Ranking show, rankings reaction. Thanksgiving right around the corner. This is one of the last ones we get before the real deal. Me and Brent Rollins joins you as always. Not much. Obviously, the top four staying the same. Top five staying the same. Yeah. And then Oregon moves up and was rewarded for a big win this past weekend. But man, I think when you look at the rankings, the only thing really like that gets fun to me is when we start getting towards, 10, 11, 12, 13. Why in God's green earth do we put Miami in there if they can't be in there? Another stupid thing I want fixed. Like, again, we do it on ours because we put someone that can actually get there. Because now, if Miami's where it's at right now in the rankings, it's not in the college football playoff. It's just the way it works. Like, now they moved up a spot. Notre Dame's still clinging, still holding on, still very much in this thing. Not there wasn't a shoot ton to talk about. Utah dropping back, I think is important. You start to look at like Vanderbilt, Utah, BYU, all them at the end. Vanderbilt with a chance to win a ranked opponent against Tennessee and a chance to move up. I thought that was an interesting spot for the Commodores to be in the mix to kind of have some fluidity. They're one of the teams that I feel like can, move up. Obviously, BYU could in the championship game, but I think Vandy's in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, Utah, I think, is actually capped. Barring barring like multiple losses here, I think Utah is kind of capped at 13 in a way now that they've put Miami ahead of them. Now, obviously, Miami plays Pitt this week in a humongous game. Alabama could still lose, this week to Auburn. There's so much that can happen.
Yes.
But I think that's a spot. I don't know how much higher they're getting because they're not going to be in the Big 12 championship game. So.
No. And when you look at it, I think you can look at this and go, okay, I think Texas Tech's in regardless. I think Ole Miss is going to be in regardless. The coaching situation, do they take that into account? Oregon, if they lost to Washington, maybe they fall with those two losses because of their resume. Maybe they could fall down below Bama and go to 10, and then who else could move up and maybe get to that spot? But yeah, like BYU, the most interesting thing when I look at this, Brent, is I go, okay, BYU 11 with a chance to beat Texas Tech. That could be a way to push someone out of the rankings.
Yes,
like
very much so.
That absolutely could happen. So if you're going to be a team that's right here on the periphery, on the bubble, like you're definitely cheering against that to happen. I think the bye purposes now, like we can look at 4 and 5 with Georgia and Texas Tech. If Georgia doesn't play for it, does Alabama get rewarded if they beat A&M? Like there's some movement, but man, I feel like we can look at the top 10 and feel really solid about them, providing they take care of business this week.
Providing that they all
which is not a given.
No, none of that is a given, especially with the fact that a lot of them are playing on the road. But in terms of Miami, Notre Dame, that discussion, because everybody wants to talk about that, I actually saw they put the graphics on, and they had the FPI strength of records, all that sort of stuff, wins versus top 25 or whatever thing that they had on there. And Heather Dinich said, right now the committee just thinks Notre Dame's better. That was was her sort of quote, and I think given the gap, that's basically what you can say at this point.
Well, you could also say too, like when you start looking at common opponents, like Miami played Syracuse, obviously, and Notre Dame just played Syracuse and just absolutely waxed that hiney. Like, it was by a worse deficit in the first quarter than it was the rest of the game. So, that's definitely
Stanford this week is a common opponent.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are things that they've talked about in the committee that matter, right? Like, those are things that they're going to look at. I thought it was interesting, Georgia Tech at 16.
No, they went down. They bumped down, back down to 23.
Okay. All right. Back down to 23. Yep. Okay.
So ACC basically handled the 20s. SMU 21, Pitt 22, Georgia Tech 23. I think that's in Tulane State at 24. So I think that's
they made that clear. That was an adjustment. Yes. That was a market correction because of the discussion we had yesterday. We were like, wait a minute, an ACC team could be on the outside looking in. Remember, like the group of 5 teams, if they're ranked ahead of them,
Well, there'd have to be two of them. There'd have to be two of them ahead of that. But
well, there was two. There was two.
Well, no, there's just the one. There was just Tulane.
No, JMU was also up there. They were ranked.
Not in the CFP. They were in the AP poll.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
But I think what they're saying, though, is that whoever wins the ACC
you're in
is 11, and the G5 team is 12. That. I think that's sort of made crystal clear at this point. The other one I thought was interesting was South Carolina didn't draw, or not South Carolina, but Southern Cal, USC. Wrong USC.
Well, USC.
They dropped two spots.
Well, other people would argue about which one's the real USC.
Yes, very true. But they only dropped two spots, and in a sort of group with a lot of other 8 and 3 teams. And then also interesting to me was that Michigan jumped Texas. So to me, Texas, even if they beat Texas A&M, I don't see a path.
No,
there'd have to be true chaos for Texas to even think about that based upon where they know or where they are
Michigan,
now.
But Michigan climbing up a little bit and kind of stable position now to also go, if we beat number 1 that nobody's been able to even really play with besides Texas. Remember, Texas did week 1. Yep. Michigan goes, where do we end up? And that's the thing. If you start looking about from behind, the people that can catch, they need something this week to be able to catch with. And Pittsburgh is a good game for Miami. Utah's got nothing to bring to the conversation. Vanderbilt has something to bring to the conversation, and then Michigan has something to bring for the conversation. So if you're looking at teams that could possibly come up and get in this discussion, those are the teams with ranked wins that have a chance to improve their resume. The other teams do not.
So in terms of the Ole Miss Oregon flip there, I wonder if that's
happen.
Well, I wonder if that's possibly setting up a thing where, hey, Lane's not the coach, and you drop down Ole Miss even further to where they're potentially not having a home game. That would be their fans would be in an absolute uproar.
Yeah, but at the same time, if we're divvying out and we're going, okay, apples to apples and oranges to oranges, you're putting a coach in there. You're putting a team in there without a coach. I don't know who's there. I don't know what it's going to be. So I understand there's got to be some of that. But at the same time, you've also gotten what you've earned to this point. And man, oh man, have we ever seen a cluster like this with Lane? We've never seen a team going right into this precipice, about to jump into the playoff, a top 6 team in college football, top 7 team in college football that could be without a coach. It gives you a good idea of where we're at in college football with the calendar and how sorry as crap this is because of National Signing Day and the portal and all that stuff. It all sucks, and I can't stand any of it.
The other thing, it does is that little drop also puts more of an emphasis on them having to win the Egg Bowl. And if they do not win the Egg Bowl on Friday at noon, I think is when that game is, that a Miami at 10-2 is jumping them. A Vandy with another win right there potentially. That's one for me that I think that's why that drop is there as much. It's coach part, but it's also you better win on Friday if you want to be in the playoff.
Well, let's compare them though. If you did that, if Ole Miss lost and they go to 10-2. Oklahoma
beat Oklahoma.
I'm about to say they still have the head-to-head with Oklahoma. So you're telling me you're going to drop them out of the mix? Complete Oklahoma beat Alabama. So that cluster I feel would be pretty intact still. I don't feel like you could do that. Because they're going to be 10-2. If Alabama's 10-2, if Oklahoma's 10-2, I don't see that. I don't see how the committee's would allow that to happen unless you're going to say outside circumstances, unless you're going to take into account coach. But I feel like Ole Miss is in a really good spot. If I'm happy if I'm Ole Miss to be stacked ahead of a team that I beat. So even if I lose, am I really going to drop below that team? So that's a great spot to be, man. And then Miami, can you somehow get close to Notre Dame? Can you get close enough to them where you can say, hey, we beat them head to head, and that comes into play because I don't see how they're going to do it. I don't see how
it
they're
feels
gonna catch him.
inevitable that we're going to get Cristobal on Sunday being interviewed right before
Pissed.
the the announcements and just being politician like we beat him, just stating his case basically.
How do you feel about
Giving-
the teams that politic or the coaches that politic?
I mean, it's they do what they have to do. Like Saban was the king at it.
Awful.
Like
Saban,
he's still doing it
bro,
now on TV.
Saban's was so bad that year. Like they had no business being in there. Like none. They had they had no say in that. Like they were not going to be in that mix. By the way, the 14 playoff would be absolutely incredible right now. Like
So
incredible. But
I
know we
put
don't
that
need
on
to
there
waste-
earlier and I was looking at it. How many of these games,
would matter.
if it would really matter if it were a 14 playoff right now? I mean, Texas A&M, Texas, because I think A&M has to win or at least be in the SEC championship to stake their claim as in a 14 playoff. But like if Bama and A&M are in the SEC championship, like I don't think Georgia would be potentially in there without being in the SEC championship, because I would think they would take Big Ten champ, Big 12 champ, and then the two people in the SEC or the two in the Big Ten.
Well, I was thinking more like, think about if you had like all four teams from the Big Ten and the SEC, like literally right there.
The two championship teams, and you just flip them.
They play, and then they play each other, and then they play in the championship again. Like literally,
It would be possible in a 14
Thank
playoff.
God we're not in that world.
Well, and it makes just think. I was thinking about that today because how many more like all these other games that are just massive games for these teams, like Tennessee and Vandy. Like Vandy's playing to potentially be in a playoff type spot. Oh, one thing I wanted to hit. Loyal listener, thank you, J.R. Morris, nominates you for the College Football Playoff Committee chair and would let you pick the other members. So would you accept the nomination if that were the case?
100%. And I'd invite Brent. And then I would absolutely like somehow find a way to bring cameras in there and let everybody see who's talking about what and who deems what important.
Okay, so somebody made a great comment as based upon our conversation on that last night. They said you'd probably have to like muffle the faces and the voices because of the insane fan bases that might attack.
Hey, don't sign up for it if you ain't about it. Like, if you don't want to do it and you don't want to accept the criticism, like, don't sign up. It actually gets some candy aces out of the room that you don't need in the room.
Okay. All right.
I like Brian Watson says, if Ole Miss loses, they're out. The Mississippi State, they're out. Recent losses always drop you multiple spots. I hear you. If they get blown out, maybe we can have a conversation. They beat Oklahoma. So the head-to-head is going to matter. They went to Norman and won. Like, so I'm not about that life. Like, and it wasn't like that was week 1 or week 2 or week 3. Like, that, I don't see that happening, because then you'd have, okay, well, fine, we'll move Alabama ahead of Oklahoma. I just don't. That'd be a disaster. It'd be awful, but it would not be something that they can do, I don't think. So the question becomes, what are we playing for this week? Like, what are we legit playing for? What seeds are on the line this week? Like, Ohio State clinches the 1 seed with Michigan. Like, done. 1 overall seed.
But they got beat Indiana.
Well, I'm saying that they clinched the number 1 seed for the regular season. Like the regular season, like it stays exactly how it is.
Yes.
If Indiana absolutely
play Purdue, they're going to be the 2 seed.
No comment.
Barring,
correct. They're going to be the 2 seed.
Loss.
A&M beats Texas. Can A&M be the 2 seed?
That
if A&M beats a ranked opponent by 21 points
on the road,
and on the road, and they go beat Texas, the number 2 spot to me might be up for grabs. Like late in the season, now listen, we all saw the comeback, but we also saw Penn State with Indiana. So like late in the season, you make that kind of statement against a rival. Does that move up? Georgia beating Georgia Tech, that's a big. You can make a big statement. Like if Georgia beats now that Georgia Tech losing takes a lot of the sting out of it. No pun intended there, bumblebees. But that would have taken some sting out. If Georgia Tech was a little bit higher, I think you would have had probably more movement or a chance to.
Well, it's if Georgia wins in convincing fashion against Tech, I think it may solidify them as a top 4, but in that case, you're talking about A&M potentially losing like to Texas. Now Georgia's in the SEC championship game. So, but I think that would potentially solidify it definitely solidify the top 4, maybe even 3 for them.
So Oregon at Washington, man, you better watch that game this week because Washington has the ability to score. They've got some toughness about them. They got some balance on offense. They got a QB that can do some freaking damage. Washington is not a fun place to play. One of the better atmospheres. Like Oregon, that's an interesting spot. Like that's definitely a spot that could be difficult. Oklahoma with LSU, Ole Miss with the Egg Bowl. So I think we still got some room through that 6 to 10 space minus Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to win. Where you've got a couple of teams that could lose.
Notre Dame is playing at 10:30 Eastern, like crazy late game against Stanford. But the thing about that would make you think that there's craziness. Yeah, it is Stanford. I agree. But is all these are road games. Like Ohio State going to Michigan. I did see a weather report that it's supposed to be potentially like 30 and snowing on Saturday for that game. A&M going to Texas. Georgia is playing in the Benz, but it's still technically a road game at Tech.
It's
Oregon
not a road
at
game.
Washington.
That's a home game for Georgia. 100,000,000% home game.
Technically a road game. But Ole Miss going on the road to Miss State. Alabama going on the road to Auburn. That's what's makes all this kind of very who knows and potential for craziness is all these teams going on the road.
Yeah.
But hey, we get to talk about it tomorrow.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. There's some drama. What's the list of how many teams are still alive to make the college football playoff?
22 was what we talked about last night, technically. I think if we eliminate Utah, we go to 21.
Yeah.
So that's still a lot.
That's a lot of teams waiting for at the end of the season.
The G5, you maybe could potentially.
That's the problem.
The
G5.
Yeah.
The G5
I have 4 listed right now, so that it's probably less than that. But you just never know. Yeah. North Texas's coach is going to Oklahoma State. That was announced. So that'll be something that maybe prevents them. Maybe they struggle at the end. But tomorrow we're going to do some picks.
A lot of picks.
I think we got 11 or 12 games.
There's a lot of games that are going to matter. So y'all jump on in with us. We'll
noon tomorrow, right?
We'll pick,
that's the plan for now. So for those that are watching, those that watch later, come join us tomorrow at noon. Maybe you got the day off. You just
get off a little early. Get ready to do some turkey the next day, some ham, whatever it is you prefer. But appreciate y'all dudes joining us. We continue to grow. I think we hit 29,000 subscribers. So bing bang. That's big time for us.
Let's get the first number be a 3 soon.
Yes.
Tell your friends.
Fantastic. Appreciate y'all. Rate, subscribe, listen, all the things. See y'all tomorrow, dudes.